Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, June 4th. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I think it goes hand in hand, and Kaiser, you brought it up, and it's very, very important. And that is knowing the rules and regulations for the area that you either want to start up a lawn care business, a small engine repair business, the list goes on, but the regulations are still there and growing. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. So, let's talk regulations. It's a biggie. It's a real biggie. And depending upon your location, because it goes location, 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 as the closer you get towards city life and the city folks, the regulations go up, right? There are so many regulations on top of regulations that it's almost like people don't realize that if they just use common sense, you wouldn't need all those regulations. But they continue to be put in place. And a lot of us will look at those regulations and say, what the hey? But it's because somebody did something that lacked common sense. So a law was brought forth or a regulation was brought forth to curb it. It kind of boils down to these are some of the things that make me go, huh. Like the lady that sued McDonald's years and years ago, back probably 30 years ago. And she sued him because the coffee was too hot. And she spilt it and burnt herself, supposedly, okay? If you buy coffee from somebody, unless you're getting iced coffee, it's going to be freaking hot. If it's not hot, then I don't want it. I don't like cold coffee. That's my wife's bag, She buys the iced coffee, and I'm like, why don't you just take what I don't use in the morning and put some ice cubes in it? But that's what I mean by somebody somewhere had an issue, so they decided to make a regulation on it. Of A, how hot the coffee is. B, when you read the labels at McDonald's, it says our coffee is hot unless it's hot coffee. Hot or unless it's iced coffee. But what I can tell you is that I taught my kids when they were, 4 and 5 at the latest. This is hot. This is cold. And that's what you teach your kids so that they can distinguish between hot and cold and certain things that are hot and certain things that are cold. But somewhere along the lines, this lady was never taught the valuable lessons on hot versus cold, I guess. But that's what a lot of regulations are, is bullcrap. Honest to God, bullcrap. And it's because somebody has got so much free time on their hands to go after somebody else than to just, worry more about themselves than others, is the best way I can put it. And we've run into that up here in the boondocks in the country. About 20 years ago, 15 years ago, somewhere in that long, my mind isn't what it used to be. But we had a big influx of people from downstate, parts of PA, and, we're the type of folks up here, and I know a lot of you guys are the same way in your areas, is live and let live. As long as you're not infringing on your neighbor or causing a rift, none of us care. You can pee off your front porch for all we care. and I have. Uh, Who cares? In my neighborhood, my area, if you want to go off the back porch and sight your deer rifle in, nobody's going to care. No, nobody. If you hear more than one shot, you know, hey, they're sighting their rifle in. If it's just one shot, they're starting the season early. But that's what I love about our area, is to each their own. Now comes the infringing on your neighbor, is the folks from downstate thought that, well, because I talk with a number of them, and they're really good people, but just misguided. And one of the biggest things that they wanted, that the reason that they bought property up here, moved up here, or used it for vacationing and stuff like that, is that in the city, and I can draw from experience because my in-laws had a townhouse. It was a 3-apartment townhouse in Yonkers, and that's where my wife used to live with her parents there and her sisters. But most of them don't know their neighbors. They're regulated up the yin-yang, and they can't do squat. So they look it up here and they say how great this is. And then they either come up here for the summer for vacation, or they moved up here and taken a summer home, made it a winter home on the lake, you know. But along with that, they wanted to bring all these regulations that they were running from, because they didn't think the neighbors should be able to mow their yard whenever they want. It should be between the hours of 9 and 2 like it is in the city. Excuse me? If I want to mow my yard at 5 a.m., I'm going to mow my yard at 5 a.m. I'm going to try to keep my distance from your house or your place where you're living. But don't come tell me when I can mow my yard. Because I'm not going to tell you you can't mow your yard at that time. And for many, during the summer months, that's when it's nice and cool, right? If you wait, it's going to be so hot. It's hard on you and the machine. But what has happened is we have become regulated to death. And whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, the one thing I can say is we need a lot less regulations and we need a lot more common sense. But in saying that, depending upon the location that you're at and you're wanting to start either a small engine repair shop or a lawn care business or any business, you need to check the rules and regulations for that area. Some require you to be in that township in order to submit bids for jobs, you know, or in that city area. Where out this way, like I say, I've got friends that travel 2 hours because they know where the money is and it's worth the travel. And when their guys hit there, it's well worth the time and investment and equipment and the 2-hour ride to get there and the 2-hour ride to get back. So yes, you know, as Kaiser was saying, rules and regulations have to be followed. Now, what I can tell you is 90% of the people that are first starting out don't bother with it. And I think that's fine. Okay? And some of you guys are going to be haters and say, oh, that you got to follow all the rules and regulations and this. I understand that. When we become a full-fledged business and we decide to go public, per se, yes, we have to follow all the rules and regulations. We have to have everything in place, all of our T's crossed, all of our I's dotted, before we technically can crank it up, right? And don't forget your sales tax number, because you're going to have to pay into the state unless you're Florida. I think it's Florida. But I think you still have to pay in sales tax. No matter where you go, there's certain things you can't avoid. And right down to the simplest is naming your business. You want to call it Bill's Lawn Care. Well, good chances are there's probably more than one Bill's Lawn Care. And if it's in your state and that's the name, if it's the same name as another legit, when I say legit, gone through all the hoops, and their name is Bill's Lawn Care, you can't use it. The state won't let you. You have to come up with your own name, your own business name. And there is places online that you can go for each state and check to see if somebody else is using that or not. And when you get incorporated, like we are, I may be misspeaking this part because we had attorneys involved with it. But I think that's federal when it's incorporated, so that they check within the U.S. to see if there's any other company operating under that name that you want. If they are, you can't have that name. It's already been taken. And there's websites for that as well. So just simply getting your name on the business letterhead is a challenge, but it's a thing you need to do. And that's the first step, is you need to have a name for your business, because whether it's sales tax, everything is going to be based off from your business name and your, I'm trying to think of the right EIN number. And that's a 2-digit by 5 or 6-digit. And that is for your federal and your state. That number in their records is you. And everything you do, you need to have that. Whether you're working with a vendor, whether you're trying to get a sales tax number. I mean, the list goes on, but there's a way you do it. And this you need to research. Starting a business is not easy. It's not for everybody. I think Amos said it. Over 90% of the people that start a business fail. And why is that? Because they fail to plan, and they don't have the oomph in the down deep to carry them through, even when they're hitting roadblocks. You don't just give up if you hit a roadblock. What do? You get the maps out. You get Google Maps, and you find a road to get you around that roadblock so you can continue on your way. And starting a business and maintaining a business is no different. You hit a roadblock, which you're going to hit many. The ones that figure out how to get around it safely are the ones that are going to continue on. The ones that just give up, they're part of that 90+%. I still recommend that you do this part-time to see if it's really what you want. The last thing you want is to say, okay, I'm going to start a lawn care business. Go out and get your name, sales tax number, check into all the rules and regulations, step out and buy a brand new trailer, 2 zero-turns, weed eaters, blowers, and not have one customer yet. Now you got all this debt, right? Because it costs you money whether or not you think it is, to pay in on a monthly basis, right? You got, don't forget the truck that's pulling it and the graphics that you have on the side of the truck saying your lawn care business. To me, that's failing to plan. You know all the steps to getting all the equipment and all the other stuff, but you fell short on the first most important thing, and that is, who are your customers? How many customers do you have at that point in time? Do you know how to bid jobs? How many jobs have you got bid for that winter for the following spring that you submitted? How many did you win? All of that should dictate what you're getting for equipment and spending your money, right? And how do you know how to bid jobs? Well, you need to find some experience on how long it takes to mow an average yard. And after a while of mowing yards, you're going to realize, okay, this takes 2 hours, man hours, equipment hours, fuel, depending upon what your customer or needs or wants. It may be just simply mowing the yard and they'll take care of the rest. It may be mowing the yard and taking care of all the grass and taking it with you. It may be mowing the yard, taking the grass, and weed eating around the structures. It keeps, some want just the yard mowed and others want the whole total package. And that means even subcontracting jobs where you hire on a greenhouse or someone that comes in, puts in flower beds, raised flower beds, this or that, whatever the customer wants, right? Because you can sub that out, but you need to be careful on who you sub that out to, that they are legit and do a great job, right? Don't forget the 1099 with them. See, there's so many rules and regulations. You can't just simply hire Joe Schmo to come in and do a flower bed for you. You could if you're going to run it underneath your number as they're an employee of some kind. But legally, that person can't come in unless you 1099 them or put them on the books as an employee. See what I'm saying? Another rule and regulation that you're going to have to find out. So now you're going to ask me, how do I find out? What's all the rules and regulations? That's part of your homework. That's part of your, going into fall, winter project, is asking all the important questions, researching, finding out for your area. The place that you want to set up shop, is it already deemed commercial, or are you in residential and they don't allow businesses to work out of the garages? Even lawn care. Because I can tell you right now, most of the lawn care guys that I know fix their own stuff. If they're not mowing yards, they're working on their stuff on rainy days. Okay? And like Jason said, you got to have backups. Even if you go the used mower route, you need a backup. In case that one mower quits or has issues, you can grab the other one and keep going. If that sounds reasonable. Because if it's sunny out, you can't tell the customer, I'm sorry we didn't get to your yard this week because my lawnmower broke down. It's not going to fly. That's not the way you do business. But you can pick up 2 good used ones. And when you have one down, the other ones are in the mix. And a lot of the landscapers that are bigger in our area, they have backups just sitting there waiting. That a lot of times the owner is the one that does the work on the equipment. Or they hire a mechanic depending on how big they are. But if they have a problem with a mower, they just drop that mower off back at their commercial building, load the other one, and get going again. And then concentrate on the broken ones on rainy days. Or they have their own mechanic that is sitting there doing it. And why are they doing it and a mechanic doing it? Because they can't afford to have those mowers tied up for weeks. And most shops that you go to are going to tell you, especially right now, you're looking at a 2-week wait time. before we can even get it in to see it, to even look to see what the problem is. And 2 weeks is a lifetime for a lawn care business. So if you're starting a small engine repair business and you're looking for customers, that's one area that you could approach, and that is approaching 2 or 3 lawn care businesses in the area and saying, what would it take for you to bring your stuff to me and have me work on it? And the way you're going to have to approach it is, look, I don't have any customers per se because I don't sell lawnmowers. I don't. But if you bring your stuff to me, I will always work on your stuff first because they need it. And they could be your bread and butter while you're building the business. Because most lawn care guys aren't that great and don't really care that much about the mechanical side. They do it because they have to do it. And the ones that have been doing it for years are really good at it. And they can retire and do lawn care or small engine repair that they know so much about it because they worked on almost every model out there. But that's one way. If you find a landscape company, a lawn care business rather, that doesn't have their own mechanic, and you're looking to get into small engine repair, you're going to have experience before you go to them, because they're not going to want just any Tom, Dick, and Harry toggling their equipment. They want it fixed right out the door. And I can tell you with most of them, if a pump is going, replace it. Don't try to baby it to get it through the season. These guys don't have time to keep having one in the shop like maybe you or I. They need it running 100% of the time. So when she goes down, it's costing them money. And if you can approach them with the concept of, I will always take care of you first, no matter what. If your machine shows up, I'll drop what I'm doing, get your stuff done back. And you could get 3 or 4 contracts with these guys and not need another customer. They will keep you that busy. Because if you're any good, even most lawn care guys have got a winter business of snow blowing, with their plows and all that. If it depends on how far you want to go, But then you got rules and regulations if you decide to work on somebody's truck with a plow. Right? So those things you need to check into. Rules and regulations are a biggie. The farther you get away, the less there is. The closer you get, the more there is. And why do I encourage doing nights and weekends part-time? Because you're going to say, well, you're a legit business, Eric, so why are you saying it's good to do that? Because they're going to cut in on your territory. Okay. If you're good enough at what you do and you're treating your customers well, they're not going to leave you. And I'll tell you, I sell a lot of parts to these guys that are doing it part-time, nights and weekends. And we even school them on stuff, on how to do this or that. And Claude and I don't charge for our experience and expertise, especially me. But you see where I'm going? Because if I help someone else succeed, I will succeed. Because there may be a time and a place where I need help and they're willing to help me. Right? It can't be all about me. Work with people. Develop good, solid relationships with people. Positive relationships. And make sure that you spend time looking at all the rules and regulations so that you don't overlook and get in trouble by your local, state, federal for the way you're supposed to operate in a certain area. So on that note, put in the comments some of the stuff that's in your areas. This should be common sense, but are now regulated. And you guys that are doing lawn care, you guys know better than I do. What are the rules and regulations in your area that just make you go home or scratch your head or piss you off? Any one of the 3 or 4. So on that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for another episode of The Weekday. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday.